Alright, another installment of Steve's Auto Care. Thumbs up. Okay, today we're working on the Subaru. You can see the little Subaru thing there. Subaru Imprezza. I believe that's what this is. I gotta look at these. I'm not too familiar with it. So yeah, Imprezza right there. There's a little star and some... I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. Anyway, so we got a Subaru Imprezza here. And the complaint is the power steering is, pretend there's a steering wheel here. Steering wheel goes crick, 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 and it gets really stiff, and every so often it'll get freed up. It's also, the pump is extremely loud. So as you see, the pump is gone, the alternator is off the car. But I'm going to talk about why I'm doing the pump. And not only because the noise, I filled it up with new fluid because it was low. I was hoping that the new fluid would make it quiet, and it wasn't. So it had been ran too long without fluid. Now, if your pump goes empty, you have just a couple of minutes, really, of run time before the aeration, the cavitation that is caused when the fluid gets aerated, destroys the impeller. And the impellers will start making lots of noise. So, since I put new fluid in it and it was still noisy, I knew I was going to change the pump. But the other problem is, why was it low to begin with? And let's see if we can take a gander at the old pump, which is here. And first of all, somebody put in a used power steering pump, because this Meridian here, unless there's a different manufacturer that I don't know of, but there's a Meridian auto wrecking that's in this area. So I have a feeling that this was a used pump. But on the back of the pump is a sensor, a pressure sensor, that was actually leaking. And so let's go back to the car. Ignore the license plate. All right. So that fluid started getting all over in this area here. And let's take the bracket off. And so you can see how dirty everything is down there. And that's after I sprayed it. I used a whole can of brake clean to try to clean it up a little bit because the exhaust is smoking. So let's talk about how to replace this pump. All right. So I didn't even look in the book. I just started taking bolts off. And what I found out is you can get to these two bolts here, which, again, let's go, we'll look at the new pump. Here's the new pump. It's a reman unit, but it's got a lifetime warranty. So you can get to those two bolts here and here very easily. And then there's a pivot bolt that's in the back here. Okay. The problem when you get to that bolt is that bolt goes here, and when you try to bring it back, the head of the bolt hits this coolant jacket. Okay, so you can't get the bolt out, and there's enough thread sticking this way, you can't get the pump out. So you have to take the bracket out, and so you have the one bolt in the back. You can take these out and just set them off the side. Now, as you see, I did take the alternator out. I'm not sure if that makes a difference. It seemed like it would. You do have to unbolt it, but it makes it easier to maneuver the bracket with the alternator out. And I still have it connected. And yes, I'm doing the faux pas. You're supposed to disconnect the battery before you do it. But if you're careful, you're careful. All right, so you do have the one bolt in the back, and then it'll be easier when I pull this out. You have two bolts here, which go here and here. Okay, so there's your two bolts for that. Then the whole bracket comes out. Then you can take the power steering pump off the bracket. Hoses are self-explanatory. You have this guy here. I just find it easier to take it off of here. You got to do it anyway. And then you got this hose here. It does come with this style gasket, but looks like somebody has mangled on it, so I'm going to replace it with the supplied gaskets from the power steering pump. All right. Also note, because I know they've been putting a lot of fluid in this car, I'm not too concerned with the flush because it's got nothing but new fluid in it. However, if your fluid is dirty, you do have to flush it. And the easiest way to flush a car is to take the low pressure side off the pump, have somebody in the car, let them start it and then turn it off real quick. So the pump is spinning and you're going to be pumping fluid out of the reservoir. Okay, and then you put new fluid in. Every time the fluid comes out, you put new fluid in until it comes clean. That's the best way, easiest. It's a little messy because sometimes if you're not careful, you get fluid all over the place. But you know, take your time, patience, and all that takes. So this is the connector for the sensor on the back of the power steering pump. You need to be careful when you're taking bolts out, especially like me. If you take that center bolt out first, you don't want to mess that sensor up. So it really is a lot easier to take the bracket out, disconnect the hoses, disconnect the sensor, take the bracket out, and then disconnect the pump from the bracket. That's the best procedure. You know, this is less than a half hour to get to this point, so it's not a hard job. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the flip side.